is the DallasCowboys.com Draft Show. Your war room for insider news and draft analysis from deep within the confines of Cowboys headquarters at the Star in Frisco.
And now, your host, Kyle Youmans.
Today is Tuesday, April 29th, 2025, and we are 3 days following the NFL draft in Green Bay, Wisconsin. Welcome into the final episode of the 2025 version of the Draft Show. We've got Bobby Belt, Bryan Broaddus, Chris Beam in the back, and right up here, front and center, the stylish, the profiling, the Voch Lombardi. What's up, dude?
Oh, I got to turn around and
Yeah, you got to turn around and talk.
Oh, well, we got a podcast to do.
Is that Voch or is that a crime boss from Sin City 2?
Nah, that's hilarious. Nah, man. We had a dress code Friday and Saturday, and I had plans to put all my little fits together, and apparently Miller Lite pays a lot of money for us to wear them polos. So you know what I'm saying. So
getting your money's worth right now.
I'm getting these fits off Bryan Broaddus.
Yeah,
you know
look
what I'm
good.
saying? So we're gonna do this one, and I got the break tomorrow. I'm gonna wear another one on the damn break tomorrow, and then we're going right back to Nike Texan t-shirts.
Looky there. You made an appearance on Talking Cowboys today. You worked your way in for the final draft show, and now you're on the break tomorrow.
The rent due, Kyle Youmans. The rent.
Do what you got to do. I respect it. Also, these draft pins, by the way, the lapel pins, Voch had those custom made for all of us that we wore throughout
They're
the weekend.
super sick.
Super cool.
I was happy to see you wearing it
on TV
when you was doing the
imaging. Everything I did, I had it on.
Because I was like, man, y'all just doing this to be nice. Y'all really hate it, but
oh no,
I
loved it. I matched it with my ties and everything. I did the whole thing.
The one mistake I made was I put 2025 on there, so it's useless next year. So if I do it again, it won't be a year on it. It won't be a date on it. But
hey, that's okay. It looks great. It really does, and can't wait to use it again next year and just put a little Sharpie mark over the 5.
I'll get you a new one. It wasn't that bad.
There we go. All right, let's break down this NFL draft. We're going to do it by segment, and we're also going to fit in some Twitter on the 20 questions as that goes along. But I want to start just generic thoughts on day 1, then we'll go into day 2 and segment 2, and then, of course, day 3 and segment 3. Bryan, I'll start with you. The Cowboys go out and get Tyler Booker, 12th overall pick out of Alabama. They bring him in. Everybody loves the guy. Everybody loves his demeanor, his personality. But from an X's and O's standpoint, it feels like a fit too.
No, it absolutely does. And these are the things that working in player personnel for as long as I did that you can appreciate about a draft is there was a lot of conversation leading up to the actual draft the day of. Would what particular wide receiver be there for them, or would they pick the wide receiver position? And I have to give them some credit here. I do think that they would have liked the opportunity to have drafted Ted McMillan, but the draft is the draft, and sometimes players get selected before you, and you have to be able to pivot. And I think the Cowboys did a really nice job of really following their board. I can't stress that enough, folks, how difficult that could be at times. But there were players between where McMillan was and maybe the next best wide receiver. It just wasn't a slam dunk that they were just going to. They had both wide receivers right there, and they were going to take. And clearly, Booker was very, very high on their board, and it absolutely that's one of the better players at that time to select. And if you look at the situation, you could say, well, they drafted for need there. Well, yeah, they drafted really, in my opinion, the best player for them, but he absolutely can fill the need at the right guard. So sometimes you take the best player, and it absolutely fits one of your needs. So I give them a lot of credit for their stack and the way that they were able to get to their player there in the first round.
One thing we should feel really decent about and give the Joneses some sort of credit for is that they are aware of their needs. There's this rhetoric online that, we're just going to run with the wide receivers that we have. There's plenty of conversation going on, whether it be from Nick Harris or Jane, or got Bobby there, that the Cowboys are looking into wide receivers. Yes. So at least we know that they know what the problem is, right? With that being said, if you have this mindset of, hey, post-draft, we'll fix everything that we need. Right now, take the best dudes. I have no complaints about that. If we're having conversations about the best guys, I know we need wide receiver. I know we like this Golden kid. he's only had about 3 good games that we can really pull from to say that we love him. Or this Emeka Ibuka kid, he's been a wide receiver too. I get it, and maybe that may not be the best bang for our buck. This Tyler Booker kid in SEC football has been whooping everybody for 3 years.
Yeah.
He has a long track record of whooping NFL players for 3 years. Look at those Texas teams, those Georgia teams, all those pros that come from those programs or whatnot. The Michigans, when he lined up against those guys, he's been whooping qualified characters. And the one thing I can say about this pick is you're going to plug him in, you're going to put him at right guard. I don't want to hear no nonsense about, well, he's a rookie, so we're going to play him with the threes over on the other field when we get to camp. He's going to line up with the when I don't know who was responsible for it, but when they did that with Guyton and BB, I was like, we know Guyton and BB going to be the starters.
Yeah.
Why are we messing around with this? I need to see Tyler Booker versus Osa immediately. I need to see him versus Mozzie and those characters. Get him in that water and get him acclimated, because he's going to be a day one guy for us.
Yeah.
He's a day one guy for us. And just as a player that's going to come in and he's going to move A gap for us, he's going to move B gap for us, he's going to help Terrence Steele get back to his old life. I think this offensive line is going to be fantastic. I've even named them the Mall of America. You know how you maul people?
Oh, yeah.
The
Good.
Mall of America. That's fire. Because we're about to move people. And Clayton
I like
Adams.
that.
And look, Clayton Adams came out and said it, man. Look, all this, I'm not about making guys do stuff that they're not good at. You know, I don't want to pin and pull these guys if they're not pin and pull guys. Tyler Guyton could play tight end. Let him pull. But let Tyler Booker be the pin dude. Let him be the whoop guy. And I think that this coaching staff has a really good idea about how to use him. It's going to be fun.
The only place that nickname would be better would be if Minnesota had a badass offensive line.
Hey,
Yeah.
man.
Like if the Vikings
That'll
had
be
just
hard.
a sick offensive line, that's a great.
But we're America's team.
Yeah.
So the Mall of America.
So the
makes
Mall of America's team.
Nah,
Maybe
it's too much.
too long.
You're trying
Trying
now,
to do
now
too
it sounds
much.
like a Wheel of Fortune puzzle
guys.
where it's
Sorry,
before and after. No, look, I mean, the biggest complaint you heard from everybody, I think everybody, even those who didn't want Booker initially, which I think was just out of a lot of fans, it was just they didn't have an awareness of who he was.
Well-
or he wasn't one of the ones we focused on as much as McMillan and others. And so I think that was part of it. Then there was another group that just didn't like the position being taken.
Position value.
I think on the front of the position, I'm going to take issue with anybody who has gone after the position itself. I understand if you wanted something else, but I'm still going to take issue with it, because here's the thing. He's going to start immediately.
Yep.
He's going to be better than what you had. So if you can take a rookie and put them in your lineup and say, we're better than the veterans who are there, it was a need. Regardless, I don't care if you had a body there, it was a need. If you can put a rookie in there, they can start right away. And the other thing is, when people are talking about what's the value of a guard at number 12, well, I'll tell you what, like, guard today is not guard 15 years ago. A-gap pressure is how teams try to get to quarterbacks now. A-gap pressure is how you, in this league where they're trying to get the ball out in 2.5 seconds, that's the quickest route to the quarterback, is through the A-gap. If you're leaking in the A-gap or in the B-gap, you've got massive problems as an offensive line. And this is an offensive line that did have problems with that, including when Zach Martin was in there last year. Zach Martin didn't play particularly well. Tyler Booker, not for his career, but Tyler Booker next year, I'm confident will be better than what Zach Martin was giving you last year.
For sure.
And what you got in general from the offensive line at that spot last year. So Booker helps them right away. I think he's the highest, cover yours, Brian, the highest floor offensive lineman they've picked since Zach Martin. In terms of, not that he equals Zach Martin, but that you're talking about somebody ready to come in and start now as a rookie.
Right.
The last guy they had like that was Zach Martin. So I think he's really strong across the board. I think he's got the potential to be a Pro Bowl player. And you're talking about somebody who, when the stack was tight and they looked for the tiebreakers of character and leadership and things like that, he blew everybody else out of the water. You hear from the scouts, you hear from Schottenheimer, their offensive line coach at Alabama, Chris Kapelovic.
Yeah.
I had reached out to him on Thursday night, and he said he's the best leader he's ever coached in his football career.
Yeah.
And that he's top tier in his preparation. So to me, you're getting everything that Schotty has preached as the number one issue for them since January, since he got here. And you're filling what is a need. If a rookie's starting there, it was a need.
I think that we're guilty here on our end of it, though, too. And I think as a media or the scout media, that especially with this football team, we talked a lot about wide receivers. We really hammered it here. I mean, it was every day it seemed like we were talking about McMillan, we were talking about Golden, we were talking about Ibuka, we were talking about, yeah, sure, we did. We talked about Booker and stuff like that, but we didn't talk about it in the way, of this, they looked at it as, yeah, sure, we're going to just draft our board. You guys can talk about that wide receiver room all you want. And and I think that we conditioned fans to think wide receiver, wide receiver, wide receiver. So I feel like, to me, where we were able to kind of come back and talk about, well, here's Booker and here's how he fits and this is what he's able to do. But there was so much wide receiver talk, and I think the fans were just thinking like that's what it's going to be, and their expectations of that was to be that. So I feel guilty in a way of hammering that point. But I also felt like that we did have some discussions about Booker and exactly the type of player he is. And, but I like I say, I give them a lot of credit for the way they stacked their board and the way that they appeared like they didn't jump any tags to go get this player. And they think a lot of him. And as Bobby and Voch has said, this guy will come in and he'll do a fine job.
Yeah, and I don't think you should feel bad about positioning the wide receiver 2 need. That was very clearly their top need. Steven has identified it. Yeah, it still is their top need. And
they're going to go address it elsewhere.
But I just felt like we really hammered it, though.
Well, that was their target. McMillan was their target. Here's the thing I think that's important, too, for people that's still their top need. If they would have had somebody that was in the range that was close to Booker, I think they pick a receiver. I think what that is a testimony to is Golden and Egbuka were not close enough to
That's
Booker.
Exactly.
If it was close,
that should have been our point.
If they were a little below, if they were a little below him, I think they take the receiver because they go, hey, it's close enough that we do have this as a need, a bigger need. But I think we've seen enough of how frequently the scouting staff has been right in their evaluations of players that, to me, if they have somebody uncomfortably separated from the guy they pick, and the only reason to take him is a need and chat, then to me, I wouldn't want them doing that.
Also, too, just around Cowboy Nation, Twitter, online, and all this kind of stuff, I think one of the biggest disagreements that happened is that there were some Cowboy fans that thought that Brock Hoffman was the first-team guy. And I like Brock Hoffman, man, no disrespect to Brock Hoffman, but the Cowboys just don't see it that way.
Right.
Last year, the conversation was, all right, Hoffman can be a starting center for you. And the Cowboys immediately said, hey, we can beat him and we move him to center. That's it. That is it.
He was better in training camp to start the whole first 2 weeks of training camp.
1,000%.
Brock Hoffman was better, and they still moved Cooper Beebe.
Still moved. And now the narrative this year was, and you can see it online, hey, we are fine at right guard. Hey, Zach's retiring, but we're going to put Brock in there. We're going to move right on from Brock. This tells you what they really think. Brock is, and I'll give him credit, he's probably the best interior swing backup center you can find in this guard center in this league. But I think they just wanted a little more juice. They just want a little more. And this will tell you that they looked at right guard as a need, like they looked at wide receiver as a need, like they looked at corner as a need.
I think you saw Brock Hoffman at his absolute best for 5-6 games.
Yeah.
That's where you see Brock Hoffman at his best. I don't know if they really thought that 17 games was going to be the best for them with him playing there.
He's a unit player. Like Brock Hoffman's strength comes in how he contributes to the entire unit rather than as an individual player. He definitely gave them something in terms of an edge and a physicality. And I have more respect for Brock Hoffman than a lot of players in this league. Not that I disrespect them, but I just hold him in high regard for the work ethic that guy has.
He's awesome.
The toughness.
Don't complain about nothing.
The commitment to the team, the willingness to do whatever. I think he's somebody that I want him here in this building for as long as he's going to be playing because I think he brings something that you need.
Yeah.
I think it's also important to remember that you do have a new offensive line coach. And one of the biggest fans of Brock Hoffman in this building was Mike Solari, who's no longer here.
Yeah.
Now,
a lot of guys are in that boat right now.
Absolutely.
At a lot of different positions.
Absolutely.
Oh, we don't talk about it.
It's going to continue through the offseason and into training camp.
Second segment finna be fire, man. I'm finna talk about some people. Go ahead, guys.
The last thing on Booker, in a lot of the disagreement that Bobby was mentioning earlier that fans and media have is where Booker aligned on the consensus board compared to where he ended up going at 12. A lot of people were saying he was 31, 32 on these consensus boards, these media boards. And I said it on Talking Cowboys. I'll say it again here just because I'm not going to discredit the work that the media scouts do because you and I,
we're
all
media
of us,
scouts.
We all know how much work we put into it, how much film we watch, how many notes we take. All of that is great, and it's an opinion that was across the board that Tyler Booker would have been a lower first-round pick. But at the end of the day, our opinion's one thing.
Yeah.
Their opinion is another. And their opinion was that he was a first-round player, and they stuck to their board and went.
I think the biggest problem that people have, real quick, Bobby, is maybe the athletic ability. maybe that's the biggest question.
And RAS scores pretty low.
People are like they're taking those metrics and they're honestly holding it against the kid. Whereas Voch will tell you, if you watch the film, he's kicking LSU's ass, he's kicking Florida's ass.
Voch is so messy. I actually made a highlight tape. It's on my Twitter right now of Tyler Booker climbing to the second level, pulling, blocking ends, blocking lines.
No, that's the question.
It's on my Twitter now. Please.
That's the question I think that people had. That is this guy an athletic? Because we're hearing the element of pin and pulls and things like that, and then we have the opportunity to interview the coaches, and they're saying, "Listen, we'll adjust to whatever we have." And then immediately that's like, okay, they're not going to try and force anything here. And Tyler Booker, this is a really, really good pick. Good pick.
Do I want Booker lead blocking around the edge consistently? No, I don't.
Not yet, anyway.
But I mean, he's not an elite athlete. That's true. But I will say, part of it's funny to me. I think if you watch his tape with Alabama, part of it is also he's trying to beat Jalen Milroe to the spot, and Milroe's so fast.
He don't slow down.
Like that. Like I mean,
He's
part
right
of it's
on his back.
What do you want him to?
already.
You want him to pull and get there before Milroe does? Like that's partially going to be what's happening there. Second, I think that to the point of consensus, I talked to people from 3 different teams outside of Dallas, and they all said they thought Booker was going to go in the top 20. Wow. So the league thought he was a top 20 player.
I had a scout from another team the night of the draft when he was selected. The scout who has that area told me, he said, that was one of my favorite players to scout this year. Wow. Just overall, the player, the type of person he was, everything about it. And, that was very, very encouraging. That wasn't a Cowboy scout telling me. That was a guy from another team he's like, man, you guys got you a great one there.
I heard, but I could be wrong. But wasn't Houston trying to trade up to get Booker? Like
they were trading him for an offensive lineman. I don't know if it was Booker or not. I never heard specifically outside of that.
He was the only one on the board.
Heard something different.
I hadn't heard who they were coming up for. I just knew they were coming up. They were trying to come up. It was just too big a drop.
It's probably going to be Booker because all the other offensive linemen were gone at that point. It was Booker and Donovan Jackson that was left over that you would think that they would take seriously enough to take at 12. I mean,
maybe it's the door.
The whole thing with Simmons,
yeah.
It didn't sound like to me with the Simmons stuff, it wasn't so much about the knee. It was about maybe the character stuff.
Oh.
Yeah.
That was the thing that ultimately got him.
Where did he end up going? Final
Kansas
pick of
City.
the first round. That was the kissing Andy Reid pick. Mm-hmm. That was what it was. He had himself a draft.
The new Cincinnati, Kansas City, and the character.
All the gangsters. I just don't see how you could
watch him in the Super Bowl.
I don't see how you could look at that film, Booker's film. I don't see how you could look at it and thoroughly examine it and not come away fully impressed with it. I get it, man. Some players got warts on film. You know what I'm saying? But if you watch him versus I'm gonna keep saying this, versus the competition that he's playing against. I got film of him picking up Tavondre Sweat and dropping him on his head. It exists. It's out there. Bro, man, watch a little bit of film. I think this is as clean as a pick as you can get. And, yeah, if you're a team, ask him to do wide zones. So, yeah, sure. But Clayton Adams say that we move in line of scrimmage and do one. I think this slam dunk for the player and the fit.
If you want to talk about somebody who had to face the most complex defensive fronts and blitz looks that the SEC or that football really has to offer at the college level, he saw it consistently against Georgia.
For 3 years.
The stuff that Kirby Smart does with late shifts and everything else are the type of things that gave Texas hell in the first game. They couldn't protect Quinn Ewers because of it. And it's the same sort of stuff. Those sort of shifts are the same problems that give NFL teams problem with communication. He's prepared for it. He's gone up against all your big-time SEC defensive tackles for years, the Jordan Davises and people like that who are up in the NFL now. Those are the type of players he's gone against and handled as an All-American.
Really excited to see how he fits in because we're talking about the X's and O's. We're still not even talking about the person that he is.
How impressive is this dude?
It's unbelievable. I've never seen anything like it. The way that he interacts with people, coaches, front office, just regular staff members, media. I mean, it's really impressive. So
I was saying on YouTube, everything that he says, I just believe him. Like he's a believable guy. I remember, I'm not even gonna say the player that plays here right now, but his press conference last year, right? He was like, "Yeah, man, I like to hurt people, I like to hit people, man. I'm physical like that." And I'm like, "Bro, your film don't even say that. Why you lying to us right now?" Bobby know what I'm talking about? Like, bro, your film don't even say that. Why? Don't tell me what I want to hear just because there's a camera and people watching you. It sounded sensational how he was trying to say it to us. Like, hey, I'm here now, and this is what I like to do. But Tyler Booker, very matter-of-factly, look, I imagine my opponent. And I imagine what the crowd sounds like and what the wind smells like and what sweat tastes like. And I saw number 4 for LSU, and I wanted to go over there and whoop him and say something to him. You can find film. I posted that play too.
Swinson.
You can find film of him doing these things. You can find film of him whooping people. Even him looking for work, Brian.
It is. It was
even him looking for work. He'll have nobody to block, and his center will be in trouble.
Yep.
I'm gonna go over there and smoke who's ever lined up over my center. I believe him when he talks to us, man. This is a slam dunk. I don't want to keep selling it because it sounds like, you know what I mean, like I'm just doing too much to vouch for my guy that I've been talking about, since January. So I ain't trying to be told you so guy, but this kid's impressive, man.
We've sat on this show.
So you liked him all.
I told y'all so.
You were top 8, wasn't it? He was 8 on your
8th on my board, top 10.
We've sat on this show the Tuesday after the draft before and just been flabbergasted by picks. It's happened. And we wouldn't be afraid to say it that way. I think all of us are in consensus here that we like the pick and we like the fit. Now, I think we're also in consensus that day 2 was special.
Kyle, let me tell you something before you move on. If Gray Zabel would have been the pick at 12, I'd be mad as hell up here for 4 days in a row. Ain't no shame in our game. It would tell you if it's wrong. Go ahead.
Got to get over it at that point. We're going into day 2 when we come back here on the draft show. The Cowboys find some value in the 2nd and 3rd round. We'll talk about it right after this with more of the draft show.
Hey.
Life is a workout, and Smoothie King is here to help you power through. Whether you're maxing out overhead presses, pushing through chest flies, or being the hero your golden retriever needs to carry them over that scary bridge, Smoothie King has the fuel to help you go all out. Build muscle and boost your recovery with 45 grams of protein, 0 grams of added sugar, and delicious customizable ingredients in the Gladiator Smoothie. Available in chocolate, strawberry, and vanilla. Only at Smoothie King.
Hi, Drew Pearson, former Dallas Cowboy and now Pro Football Hall of Famer here. If you're struggling with your vision and tired of those contacts and glasses, don't throw a Hail Mary. Go where I went. Laser Care Eye Center, the official LASIK partner of the Dallas Cowboys.
Drew, thank you so much for trusting us with your vision correction procedure. At Laser Care Eye Center, we offer 6 different vision correction procedures to help patients see.
Check them out at dfweyes.com. Tell them Drew sent you. Hood, hood.
I'm Dak Prescott, quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys.
And they snap it to Prescott, who looks right. It's not there. He escapes left. He'll run for a first down.
Just like football, when it comes to crypto, it's important to have a team you can trust. With blockchain.com, I know I'm in good hands. Since 2011, they've been trusted by millions around the world to buy, sell, and trade cryptocurrency.
Prescott's going to run this himself. Run it up the middle, and he scores.
Whether you're new to crypto or an active trader, they've got you covered. What are you waiting for? Get started at blockchain.com.
Cowboys fans, when it comes to navigating the ever-changing world of tax, your business needs a partner it can trust to tackle even your biggest tax challenges. Ryan is the largest firm in the world dedicated exclusively to business taxes. Our team of tax professionals has local expertise in all areas of tax and can help you uncover savings opportunities you didn't know you had. Learn more about how Ryan can improve your overall corporate tax performance by visiting Ryan.com. Ryan, the official tax partner of the Dallas Cowboys.
This is the DallasCowboys.com Draft Show.
The 60th Academy of Country Music Awards are returning to Ford Center at the Star in Frisco on May 8th. Enjoy live performances from Lainey Wilson, Blake Shelton, Eric Church, and more. Don't miss this celebration. 6 decades in the making, hosted by entertainment icon Reba McEntire. Tickets are available now at SeatGeek.com. Great event, always a ton of fun, and we'll talk about some more of those events that'll be popping up here at the Star in the 3rd segment. Alongside Voch Lombardi, Bryan Broaddus, Bobby Belt, I'm Kyle Youmans with Chris Beam in the back. Moving on to day 2, the Cowboys select Donovan Ezra-Raku, edge rusher from Boston College with the 44th overall pick. And then at 76, they take Savone Ravel Jr. I'm trying to rack the history books for Dallas, Brian, when it comes to the draft classes that they've had, where they've found as much value as they did on day 2 this year.
It's amazing to me, and I just know looking at how I had the players stacked, it's it's in reverse order. The player, the 3rd round player would have been my top player, the 2nd round player right where he was taken. And then, with Booker, he would have been the 3rd guy. But if you can tell me that I can grab 3 of my top players in the first 37 picks,
sure,
I'm totally on board with what they did here, and I think to me this once again is just a great example of them following their board. I know as a Raku, we've talked about him. Boy, we like him as an edge rusher and all that. Did we have him earmarked for the Dallas Cowboys? I don't think so. Mm-hmm. But we talked about him. Hey, somebody's going to get this guy who's got this elite bend and ability to finish at the quarterback, and you can move him around. And so that to me, when that pick happened, we were all kind of talking about, oh, well, here comes the running back, here comes the potential corner, But the way that they stack their board, once again, I think they got a hell of a player, and that's. When you look at the group as a whole with Micah Parsons and Ezeraku and Fowler, and we'll see what happens with Sam Williams and stuff, man, they've got some legitimate edge rushers that can cause some teams problems. And they've got a couple of guys with Micah and this guy that they can move around and maybe even put on the same side to cause problems. There's a lot of different combinations you can use with this guy. He's an outstanding player. He really is.
Has the statute of limitations expired on a draft board from 22 years ago, Brian? Can you identify a grade from 22 years ago, do you think, safely?
No.
No?
Probably not.
Maybe names. If it's specific names.
Okay, I won't say specific names.
Who do you got?
If we're just talking value.
Who you got?
In 03, Witten in the third, Al Johnson in the second, Brady James in the fourth. Were those all high guys?
Yeah. If I remember, Parcells, the Al Johnson one, because we were all screaming at Bill to draft Witten in the second round, and we were worried, and it just happened to be a draft where it was Dallas Clark, and there's just all these tight ends. And so, we're like, gosh, please, we can't do this. Just pick him. And Bill's like, no, I've got to have the center. And we just got lucky. The draft gods smiled on us that day. But I think the best value of a draft that ever, in my opinion, that we had here was the 05 one. When you start looking at Chris Canty and Ratliff and those guys.
We did a documentary over that one.
Yeah, that draft was special in the way that it fell for the Cowboys.
What about Zeke, Jalen Smith, and Dak, like value-wise?
Yeah, so post after the draft, Dak is going to be higher, obviously. So, but at the time, I don't know where they would have had him graded. Jalen was the top. He was just an injury flag.
Yeah. I had a second round grade on Dak.
I was even looking at 2020, CeeDee Lamb, Trayvon Diggs, Neville Gallimore, but I still don't think Gallimore had the same value on their board that a Ravel.
It would be like I say, it's. With Ravel, how that plays is going to be the one that could be the kicker. And he could very well be the best of the three when this, I'm really looking forward to, Britt Brown and this medical staff getting with this kid because he wants to work. He wants to get back out on the field. And you got a guy with a Britt Brown that will get after it and help him get there. And so, it's so encouraging that they got to him. I thought you were going to have to take him at 44 to get him, and the fact that they got him at 76, I think is, I'd say the word draft gods, clearly smiling on him on that pick.
Coach Whitecotton came out and said to me, hey, we need a lot of dudes to make this thing work. And if you think about the Cowboys 2 years ago when that pass rush was really good, Dante Fowler was the fourth guy. And now he's our second guy. Right. You know what I mean? So you have to look at pass rush like it was a need coming into this thing. Mm-hmm. We don't know what we have in Sam, man. We was talking about, hey, your guy is out the building. Yeah. Dan Quinn's gone, and Sam got hurt, and he didn't even get a chance to be a part of Zimmer's administration. Yeah. So now you are 2 coaches removed, Sam Williams. If you don't show up and do something expeditiously, sir, you are under the fire. I think Donovan is here. I think Donovan knows how to get sacks day one. The Cowboys clearly have a type. Donovan got length, got those long arms, 83-inch wingspan, something like that.
Yeah, it's 91st percentile.
For sure. And he can pass rush right now. Even if you want to set the roles up and say, well, Micah's not going to come off the field all too much. Nealon is your rundown guy. Peyton Turner would be a rundown guy. Even if Donovan Ezeraku day one is not a full-blown rundown guy, he's at least a dude that you can line up on this edge, that edge, line up at linebacker. You want to put Micah at linebacker, put him at edge, and move all these guys around. You have day one usage with him. And I think edge was a bigger need than we even talked about. So that's two picks in a row where the Cowboys kind of fix a need that while we're harping on receiver and running back, they're thinking, hey, if this pass rush is here, how can we not take them? And there are some mock drafts that had him in the first round, and even Ross Winch. Now somebody said that they didn't think that he would even be there. So I guess common knowledge would be, and Bobby could tell us where the league had Donovan. So to get him at 44, it's a blessing, man.
Yeah, Ezeraku was a borderline first. I think for most people in the league, they thought he was going to go, and at the very least, they thought he'd be one of the first off the board in the top of the second. So to get him midway through the second is definitely good value, I think. I think in terms of stacking the defensive line depth and doing different things, I haven't looked at the tendency yet on Chicago. I will say I know that Aaron Whitecotton coming from Jets and 49ers philosophy and Matt Eberflus being brought up in Rod Marinelli's philosophy, that is heavy defensive line rotation. That is, you are 8 deep a lot of the times because there's so much that they're asking them to do, get upfield, just run the motor runs so hot that a lot of times they want to keep fresh legs. And Marinelli's big thing was always fresh legs for the end of the game, making sure you had guys that were not getting drained throughout the game. And so I think that's definitely speaks to the likelihood of a strong rotation that they're going to run. And you've got Nealand, Ezeraku,
Williams,
Parsons, Williams, Fowler. And so a lot of depth there is clearly what they're looking for. I'll tell you one of the things that I don't know that we've talked about it really with Ezeraku, but it does stand out to me when I was watching his tape was, have you noticed how frequently, and even for a guy who is technically undersized, I guess, do you notice how frequently a tackle would look like they had vice gripped him and he'd break out of it?
Sure.
Because so frequently you see tackles when they get their hands on him, it's just demoralizing and edge rushers are done. He flips what looks like pass rush losses into victories like that.
Yeah.
It's because of his rush pattern, right? He doesn't just stay outside. I saw this one rush. It was against it was one of the Carolinas, whatever. He'll rush outside, counter back inside. He'll look like he'll be beat, but he doesn't stop chaining moves together. He's a super nuanced pass rusher right now. On top of the idea that he's bendy as hell, or
his arsenal is nuts.
I seen this. I don't want to cuss on y'all show, but how many times have y'all seen him fake hands high? Offensive lineman put hands high, and he bends his ass up under him. If you're a college football player, you're just not ready for that. You just haven't seen that yet. Now when you get to the league, maybe they've seen that before, but just as a day one Arsenal ready to go, you don't have to. And that was my biggest gripe about Mykel Williams, right?
Right.
You can't have Mykel and come in and be like, all right, time to get sacks when he hasn't done this before.
Right.
Donovan gets sacks and he's not running into him. He's not efforting his way into him. He's gaining them. He's winning.
Yeah, there's so many times where we're watching these edge rushers, and as they were going, and I know you and I watch with our shows, always talking about, why is he going down the middle? Why is he going down the middle? Why is he going down the middle? This guy doesn't play down the middle. Ooh. This guy plays underneath you. He plays around you. He attacks shoulders. He'll go inside of you. He's not going to sit there. That's one of the problems I had with the Texas A&M kids. Yeah. I just felt like they kept rushing down the middle. Yep. And Mykel Williams was really, and Voch is right, the same way. Come on. When are you going to try and win that edge? When are you going to try and dip? When are you going to try and play low shoulder? When are you going to try and flatten that angle? Yeah. You just didn't see it with this guy. Him and our guy at Marshall.
Mike Green.
Those are the best pass rushers.
So I thought those were the two best pass rushers when it came to attacking a shoulder, getting low, and then finishing where they needed to.
I thought the technique from Ezeraku is NFL ready. The size and the length is NFL ready. The speed off of the jump is NFL ready. The one thing that is a knock is his strength, his play strength, but he plays with his hands so well, specifically the way he's able to place them and the way he's able to work around these tackles. Yeah. That's something you can grow on. That's something you can coach, you can get better at as time goes on.
He doesn't have brute strength, but there's pop in his hand.
Absolutely.
It shocks guys. And like I said, when he gets locked in,
that's going to get better as he does get some brute strength whenever he works in an NFL strength and conditioning.
Even when he gets tackles hands on him, he's still strong enough to he'll break the grip.
Also too, if he's bending all game, right, and he's outside shoulder, as a tackle, you get used to that and you go, all right, let me overcompensate for his outside speed, and that's when he'll run down the middle of you and bull rush you or whatever. Just fantastic player. Go ahead, Kyle.
Michael wanted to ask the question on Twitter on the 20. He said if the Cowboys had moved up to get Teteroa McMillan, it would have cost their third-round pick.
Yeah.
In order to do so. Likely so. Yeah. Now we know that what we've got, would you rather have the picks that you have, the three, Booker, Ezraku, Ravel, or would you rather have Teteroa, McMillan, and Ezraku in the second?
Let me tell you how good of a question that is, because they've asked us this before. Like, you trade up and you lose picks, but you don't have names on the picks
that you know who you're gonna get.
We just got picks, and we could be assuming that the Cowboys aren't going to do the right thing and draft properly, right? But you got three players in my top 28 and Brian's top 37.
Yeah,
I think that's better than Ted McMillan, Donovan, and wait until pick 149 to take Blue.
Yeah, I think if you're without your third-round pick, your philosophy of the second-round pick may differ too. You may not have the leeway to say we'll take a corner in the third or day three.
Yeah.
We may have to take Will Johnson, who was there at 44.
Sure.
We may have to take Benjamin Morrison, who was there at 44. Trey Amos.
Yeah.
I would rather have the picks that we got.
No, I mean, to me, it was very logical when you talk about, and Voch mentioned the three players. I got the 12th best player with the third-round pick. I got the 12th best player on my board with a third-round pick.
Yeah.
Now, you'll say, okay, Brian, it was probably because of some injury and stuff like that. But this kid, the fact that Dr. Cooper, who I know very well, did the surgery, I think this kid's going to be just fine.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're going to look back at this one day and we're going to go, wow, what a steal that player was. Yeah. And so to me, give me the opportunity. If you tell me I could get at 76, I could get the 12th player off my board. Yeah. I don't care how good Ted McMillan is. I'm happy with the way that went.
Can I give you a scenario?
Yes.
Because I think if they trade up and they lose their third and their fourth, I think they definitely bail out of their second round. They trade back and they pick up a fourth. Is what I think they do everything they can to pick up that extra
because they were
capital.
trying to do that anyway.
So I think it becomes more, would you then want McMillan, and then when they move back in the second, they probably take Ravel, because I would imagine Ezraku's off the board. And then in the fourth, you're taking Sampson, I would guess. Somebody like Dylan Sampson from Tennessee.
Back.
So then the question, I think, becomes McMillan, Ravel, Sampson, or Booker, Ravel, Ezraku.
Yeah. That's a little more enticing, but I would stick with what they got.
I like McMillan.
I think I'd stick with what they got, too.
Yeah.
Are we sure that they like Sampson as much as I mean,
I think where they would have to move back in order to pick up capital at that point in probably back half of the fourth round, Sampson's probably close to the running back that they would have taken. Sampson, Blue still may have been in conversation.
That's what I was wondering, if Blue was still been in the conversation.
Ted would have been fun, but I would need a Jamar Chase type wide receiver, like type dude, to make me feel good about moving on from the haul that we.
I think Ted was relatively around the same grade as Booker. It's just Ted was the need. Like I think that I don't think it's like Ted was just generational above what they were looking at with Booker.
I heard the same kind of thing. Like they were very close together on.
It's just McMillan would have won out.
It's very clear the way they picked their board. It's very clear that what happened. That he obviously was the second. Or he was behind McMillan and very close there. There was people between, and Booker happened to be between their top wide receiver and the next best wide receiver.
Yeah.
Let me tell you what.
It may have been a bigger gap than we thought initially.
Absolutely.
Let me just tell y'all what I don't like about Ted. Then I'm gonna ask a Cowboy question. He really don't like to be called Ted. Like he was on the red carpet talking to the lady with the microphones. It's like, I don't like when people call me Ted. I don't know where that come from. Boy, your name Teteroa. What you mean?
Well, because he went by T-Mac. That's what he went by. So that's the shortening in his opinion, is T-Mac.
If your name is Bobby, it's Robert. But if your name is Bobby and we call you Bob, that's where Bob come from.
Yeah, it makes sense. I see the connection for sure.
Like, where did it come from? Like, why is that?
Why the hell y'all call me Ted, boy?
Your name is Teteroa.
He would never be a good leader or teammate thinking like that, and he don't watch film. But let me ask y'all this.
Yeah, good luck in Carolina, guys.
Yeah, good luck.
By the way, real quick, did you think Carolina was going to take him?
No.
I had no clue.
See, but we should have thought that after watching Dallas play Carolina last year at wide receiver.
Sure. I mean, they just invested a big pick in Mingo and then traded him, and so they clearly had an opening.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys think that the Cowboys? I'm talking about corner now. Now we're back on Revel.
Okay.
Do you guys think that the Cowboys are going to attempt to make a big three at corner, or is Revel supposed to be Diggs' insurance while they pay Blaine?
Yeah, I think some guys need to be on notice.
It's kind of both.
I think they need to be on notice. I agree with Bobby on that one.
Yeah, because Diggs is hurt, and I don't know when Diggs is coming back. Are we ever going to see those three on the field at the same time?
We didn't see them with Jordan Lewis and
We've
Bland.
never had a proper big three, whether corner or wide receiver. We never get to see them.
Never get to see them together. So.
Yeah, I think when Diggs comes back and you got Diggs, Bland, and Revel, I think I think cream's going to rise to the top, and somebody's probably going to be on their way out at the end of that.
That's going to suck, man.
A lot of decisions to be made. Same kind of thing on day 3, though. We had a lot of decisions made on day 3 to try and fill some of the needs that weren't necessarily taken in day 1 or 2. When we come back, who was the best value on day 3 and who could be the most surprising in year 1? A couple questions from the Twitter on the 20 chat panel when we come back with more of the Draft Show.
I'm Darren Woodson, former Dallas Cowboy player and Super Bowl champion. When I played in the NFL at a high level, I relied on my vision to see the field. As I started getting older, I noticed my vision wasn't as good, and I was getting frustrated from wearing my glasses all day. I went to Laser Care Eye Center, and Dr. G talked about all the options. Thanks to technology and Laser Care Eye Center, I can see near, far, and between. Don't fumble your vision any longer. Visit them at dfweyes.com and tell them Darren sent you. They got me back on my game.
Star Sports Tours is the only official fan travel partner of the Dallas Cowboys, offering exclusive game weekend travel packages with pre-game sideline access and photo ops with current players, cheerleaders, and Cowboy legends. You want to stay at a team hotel, attend the best tailgate party in Texas, tour the Star, and talk X's and O's with me, Everson Walls? With Star Sports Tours, you can. Visit cowboystravel.com to book your travel package today.
Life is a workout, and Smoothie King is here to help you power through. Whether you're maxing out overhead presses, pushing through chest flies, or being the hero your golden retriever needs to carry them over that scary bridge, Smoothie King has the fuel to help you go all out. Build muscle and boost your recovery with 45 grams of protein, 0 grams of added sugar, and delicious customizable ingredients in the Gladiator Smoothie. Available in chocolate, strawberry, and vanilla. Only at Smoothie King.
How about them Cowboys? Or how about them Tyson Cowboys Nuggets? As we cheer for the stars on the field, we love that we've also got some stars on our plate, thanks to Tyson brand star-shaped Cowboys Nuggets. That, along with all our other favorite Tyson Foods products, sure make game day special. Score some delicious Tyson Cowboys Nuggets and become a game day star, just like our Cowboys. As you enjoy your stars on and off the plate, remember, tailgates and game day have always been Tyson.
This is the DallasCowboys.com Draft Show.
Two-step over to the Star for back-to-back nights of free live music at ACM Country Kickoff May 6th and 7th with an all-star lineup of rising talent and fan favorites, plus a beer garden, exclusive merch, and more. This event is one that country music fans won't want to miss. Visit acmcountrykickoff.com for more information. Alongside Voch Lombardi, Bryan Broaddus, Bobby Belt, I'm Kyle Youmans, Chris Beam in the back. This is the final draft show segment of the 2025 NFL draft. It's bittersweet.
I'm sad Zach had to cancel.
I know
that he's no longer here. Jay Toya was in the building, and they said that he couldn't be around him.
Do that.
Gave him a restraining order already.
Show me that little move.
No, he could stomach to potentially bump into somebody, and so he's just like, no, I'm not.
I love how that was a big topic of conversation on G-Bag Nation and on the radio or the morning show yesterday, and then the Saints. Miscorrection finished runner-up on G-Bag of the day yesterday too. I was talking about the New Orleans Saints,
right? But like what you say? Though.
Yeah, you got to go back and listen to it. Yeah. You know, it might be a drop already.
We need the audio for the hot car stuff. That was awesome. Man.
Yeah. Oh no, that's gotten played a lot on the station already. That's getting run into the ground.
I feel for him,
just like Zach's reputation. Straight to the ground.
I'll tell you what. The funny thing for me was Nick not listening.
Yeah.
That
was fun.
I just like you sit there and Zach just kind of gave a really nice breakdown of the guy.
Rugby family got 4 cousins in NFL.
And then all of a sudden Nick just kind of goes into the same rundown.
He was so confident on it.
Did y'all know that he come from a rugby family? He got 4 cousins.
Let me tell you about this guy. It was how he started it. It's like everybody just kind of looked at him
like, what are you doing here, bro?
That was honestly I was sick Saturday morning. I think it was actually because I chugged like
probably the most
3 energy drinks the night before, and it destroyed it. But I was saying, when I heard that interview in the 7th round, I was like, this is the moment I've most been upset that I'm not there today, because I would make this last hour. Zach would cry.
Yeah. He may have already.
He has.
We don't
he cries
know.
a lot. He's a crier.
He's a crier.
Yeah.
Man, it was a lot of fun. We appreciate all those that tuned in and stayed. We got all the tweets as 257 rolled across. Mr. Irrelevant walked the stage, and man, it's always a blast. Day 3, and we get to the point where it's loopy.
Yeah.
We're losing it. All of our exhaustion from the previous 2 days catches up to us, and we got to survive on the air without getting canceled. Zach.
Yeah.
But no, it's been a whole lot of fun, and this is such an incredible journey. Year in and year out. Let's wrap it up by talking day 5 and the draft picks that were for the Cowboys. I'll run them down real quick just for those who may have either missed it or forgotten by now. 5th round, they had 2 selections. Jaden Blue, running back from Texas, was the first, and then they traded up. They traded their 6th round pick to come up and get Shamar James, linebacker from Florida. Remaining with 1 6th round pick, they used it on a Johnny Cornelius, the offensive lineman from Oregon, and then Jay Toia, Zach's favorite player, defensive tackle from UCLA, Phil Maffa, running back from Clemson, and then Tommy Akingbasote from Maryland, a defensive tackle, the 3 7th round picks. Let me start by asking, who do you feel like has the best chance to contribute in 2025 out of this group of players? Because it could be a number of them. They addressed need, double-dipped at running back, double-dipped at defensive tackle, added some in the trenches. Where do you feel like the best chance to contribute would be?
Both J's. Jaden Blue is going to make this offense fast, really fast. And I think Jay Toia. I think Jay Toia is going to be your big body run D guy. Shouts out to Mozzie, man. We still got to see it. Him as a complete player. Talking to Coach Whitecott, he doesn't have a type necessarily, but having different body types and different guys are going to have different jobs. Cool. I can imagine that out of all the guys in their room, your best run defending type, D tackle is probably Jay Toia. One, because of the size, sure, but his effort and him moving around, for his size, he has some great movement for his size. So I see him as like a day one, go be big in there, run defense type guy. And besides, I think everybody's going to have to get in where they fit in. I'm really curious to see how James fits, but I'm going to have to rewatch him with Cowboy eyes. How you watch a guy for all 32 teams, and then you hear the Cowboys say, well, we look at him as a pass rusher. He'll probably be a will linebacker type guy. So now I got to go back and watch him as a pass rusher, will linebacker type dude, not just as a linebacker for everybody. But
those Eberflus eyes,
with the Eberflus eyes,
he was the one kind of driving the force behind that pick.
They traded up to go get him, and I was like, hey, this guy that I had in my 7th round picks or whatever, y'all traded up to go get him in the 5th. So now I got to watch him with Cowboy eyes to see what they see in him.
Toia is going to be, I think, right off the jump, you're going to know how good he is when we get to training camp, and all of a sudden he's lining up with Booker, Tyler Smith, and Beebe, and how he handles that. If we see him in those drills, in the 9-on-7 periods, the run periods, the team periods, where the ball's not getting inside, or they're kind of having to bounce, or it gets kind of muddy in the middle of that defense, and he's holding up against those powerful guards and center, man, that would be a great sign for me. And maybe they'll get to scrimmage against the Rams again, or maybe the Chargers will come over and we'll get to see him get to work against some other guys. But I think you'll see very early, because he is going to show up, or those guys that I just mentioned are going to wear him out, because of how they play. So I think you'll have a very good indication of how he can help. I think he's absolutely going to push Mozzie Smith. I don't think Mozzie Smith could show up and roll his helmet out there and think that he's got this job.
Yeah.
Because if like I say, he could get just as exposed by Booker and Smith and Beebe and others as well. He needs to come in and not have every practice where somebody has to put their arm around him and say, it's okay, big fella, we'll get him tomorrow, kind of a thing. No, it's time for him to grow up and go out there and be a force. And maybe that's just not in his DNA. And if it's not in his DNA, then I could see this team absolutely moving on. Maybe not this year, but I don't think his status is will be cemented. Maybe if we get to 2026.
Well said.
Yeah, Toia and Blue are the ones that stand out. Like they said, I mean, Blue probably more so. So I'm gonna. not jumping full on board yet, but I think we did see there were a couple different games last year where Mozzie flashed more.
Against NFC East opponents.
New York Giants.
He played some of his best football.
And so I'm at least looking at that and saying, I wonder if there's enough there. And Aaron Whitecotton being a guy whose reputation across the league is as somebody who gets the most out of players, then I'm at least a little more optimistic, I guess, than you guys. Not banking on it, but a little more optimistic that it's possible. Whereas on the other side, you don't have anybody like Jaden Blue before you picked him. He's new, he's unique, and I mean, Shoddy has talked about when he was asked in Indy, what do you look for in a running back, and one of the top things to him was pass catching ability, and the things that you can do with Jaden Blue in the slot, on swing passes, the things he can do as a runner, the type of juice he brings. I think Jaden Blue is going to be given an opportunity to contribute heavily right away. I don't think he's bell cow and just taking but I mean, he's going to be used. I think
He's not a small guy.
No,
I mean he's short, but he's not a 5'9", 182. He's a
5'11" and change.
Yeah, he's 196.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to be a game day inactive. I don't think he's going to be active but not really getting any touches. I think he'll be used probably similarly to how he's used at Texas when Texas had all their healthy running backs. Like that's the kind of workload that he's going to get, and that's something that if he can produce, which I think he's capable of, then he can make an impact pretty quickly.
I like the way you kind of outlined it, because a lot of people are looking at a 5th round running back and saying, oh, he has a chance to contend for a starting job. Who's going to be the starter up front for running back? You're going to get a different look from these guys. There's not going to be one consensus starting running back out of this group. You're going to use them in specific spots and kind of use Williams here or Sanders there or Blue there or Lipke there. However it ends up being from a running back standpoint, maybe Maffa fits into the mix if he has a great training camp as well. There's a chance for him to make the roster and have some legitimate production, but he's got to get to that point first. You guys mentioned Toia at training camp and what he could show immediately. I can already see Cowboys Nation reacting on social and being super upset when he just mauls a guard. He goes to Tyler Booker and he wins a rep against Tyler Booker, and it's tweeted out, and everybody's going to be like, "Oh, Tyler Booker having a bad camp." It's
Boy, if I know Booker, man, he coming right back.
He's going to get him on the next rep.
Coming to get him.
But Toia has a chance to really do something out of that one tech spot that you don't have.
0 or 1. I mean, this guy's not going to be a great pass rusher, but what he's going to be is you put him head up, he is a problem to deal with. He's a little bit of a shorter arm guy, but man, he plays with a lot of power. He faces all kinds of blocks and plays them all well. He's at 342. He is a very hard guy to move off the ball.
What do you think about the other guys now that you've gotten to see them a little bit? Has anybody watched Phil Maffa or King Basote since they were picked, and kind of what are some of the thoughts along the way with those guys?
I was a little underwhelmed with Maffa. I think the first thing that you have to do is take him out of those shotgun runs, man. I can't stand
those read options.
I can't stand a powerful runner being stuck in that. But
put him in the eye.
Yeah. I thought he was at his best when he was running forward and running through people. He's 235 pounds, 234 pounds, whatever it was. He's at his best when he's moving straight forward. He likes to dance. Stop dancing, my guy. Run directly into people. He likes to, make some cuts and try to read and really figure it out. My guy, even if you got to run over your offensive lineman, just run forward. That's all you do. I felt like even as a blocker, I was kind of upset that I felt like Jaden Blue was a better blocker than him, because Toia loves to try to cut people. Sir, you're 6'2", 230. Hit people square, you'll be fine, I promise. But I think he's a guy, if you just tweak his game just a little bit, that's what coaching is for. Take him out of those shotgun runs, just pat him on the back and say, sir, just forward. And when you're blocking, stand straight up, square, hit people. I think he doesn't have a problem blocking people. He doesn't have a problem, getting to the blocker. He just chops people once he gets there. I hate that for being a 6 foot, 325 pound running back. But if he's going to be your thumpy guy, Javonte Williams is going to have something to say about that.
Yeah.
He's your thumping guy right now, and Williams is a much better pass catcher and blocker right now. So Maffa's going to have to fight for his life here. But where Blue has the advantage is that he's a bigger Deuce Vaughn, and Deuce going to have to fight for his. So the running backs have two different paths to freedoms here. Of course, Blue has the easier or the clearer path, but I think Maffa's got a little bit of work to do. But he was cool. Just 7th round guy.
Yeah, to me, I was kind of looking more like the guys. Martinez got picked in the 7th round. Krosky Merritt got picked right behind you. I mean,
Allen.
literally, Allen was Syracuse was picked in the 7th round. Maybe those guys a little bit more. I thought we might have been a little bit better pairing. And I think Voch is right, though. You could watch some Clemson tape. My man had some alleys to run through. Clemson do a good job coming off the football and blocking people and him having the path to go through. But there were a couple of times where watching the Florida State game, he just completely ran over the safety, to make a gain. So he needs to embrace the physicality that he plays with. That if he's going to try and be dancing guy and just take his time to get through the hole, there's going to be some problems there.
I agree. I think you saw basically a 7th round pick on tape, like when you watch the Clemson stuff. But I will say that I've got a slight correction to what I saw on tape, I guess, because after asking around from a few people watching the 24 tape, I was told he was hurt the entire time.
They said he had ankle surgery, right?
they said he played hurt the whole year. So I don't know if is he so banged up so he's trying to avoid some of that physicality because he's already bruised.
Oh, he's run over some people though. You can watch some games where he physically will run over folk.
So I think he's a fine contributor, but like you watch him on tape and I just go, yeah, that's a guy you take in the 7th round and just see what sticks.
Maybe because we thought we had a better idea of the guys I mentioned, the Krosky Merritts and Allens and guys.
Martinez
like
don't cut
Martinez,
he smokes people.
Yeah.
But he still had more production. He didn't have more yards per carry than he had in 2023, but in 2024 he had more production overall than he did the year before that. They used him in the red zone a lot in 2023, had 13 touchdowns compared to 8 last year. Yeah. He's not your home run threat. Your home run threat is Jaden Blue.
Yeah.
This is a short yardage back for the most part, at least to start, and if he can break something a little bit more than that and he can utilize the pass protection element with his size and take a step forward literally in running forward. I agree with Voch on that point as well. You can't dance behind the line of scrimmage and go laterally. That's not his game. His game is downhill and play with it. I think Maffa has a shot to – it's a crowded room, though.
Yeah.
That's the only thing. And so you give it a shot, you see what he can have at training camp, and then you go from there.
I kind of feel like that him and our Maryland defensive tackle probably practice squad type guys.
Probably. What did you see in him?
You know what? To me, I wasn't super impressed I worry a little bit. I think he's laid off the ball. And I think we need to kind of speed him up that way. I think he could play the 1. I think he could play the 3. He'll try and throw some pass rush moves and stuff on you, but he'll get stuck on blocks. He's a little bit like when we talk about the guys that start, stop, and then they get stopped again, and they're trying to it's really, really hard for him to do that. I could see him playing down the line of scrimmage. There were a couple of games where he was able to make that tackle for loss, just working down the line of scrimmage, but he's really laid off the ball. And so those are the types of things I worry about. Is he not able to see it? Is he getting distracted? What's happening there? The size and all that. He's a big upper body guy and kind of got a slimmer lower body, which allows him to have the ability to move around and stuff. But man, he is going to have to learn to come off the ball quicker and come with a little bit more pass rush moves, play with his hands a little bit better. I just kind of feel like, though, with a crowded room, he's going to have a hard time making this football team, and I could see actually him being on a practice squad.
Got some length though, and
he does.
And when he did make plays, it was him using his length. He just doesn't do it all the time.
Yeah.
Brian makes a great point. He's just a little late, just a tick late. Yeah. But when he was on time and he came off the ball, he used his length and he stacked and shedded and extended. That's when he was really good. He just didn't do that all the time. You would much rather watch Jordan Phillips if you're gonna watch Maryland tape. Yeah. But if they were excited about him, like just watching the cam or whatever, they was high fiving and all that. So he has a sponsor in the room, whoever that may be, could be White Cotton. If they coach him into something, and look, we have proof of White Cotton coaching people that we didn't think would be great into solid players. So we'll see. But like you said, and me and Brian talked about this last night, the D-line room is deep right now. Like there's about 16 guys in there that can make the team, possibly can be around or have played before. So the D-line altogether, they're gonna have to figure all this out.
Well, and I think he benefits from I know there's a lot of bodies in there, defensive tackle, but there's a lot of uncertainty in the defensive tackle room.
Sure.
So unlike a Phil Maffa, who's a 7th round pick at running back, or and where he could fit in the running back room that's crowded with veterans and draft picks now and a couple other guys, they can have a defensive tackle that could sneak his way onto the back end of the roster as long as he does the right thing and fills the void. Still a long way to go for a lot of those guys, and probably practice squad is a little more likely as they get into it. All right. That's going to do it for us. Bobby, it was good having you back today. We missed you on day 3.
Thanks. Yeah, I was glued to my bathroom.
Yeah, it's kind of a tradition of you not showing up on day 3.
Damn.
I was here last year.
Maybe less energy drinks this time around.
I was here last year. Let me finish my point, Brian.
Hey man, let me just say, man, this has been the coolest thing that I've ever had an opportunity to do. Shouts out to everybody that put their arms around me and let an old YouTuber in the building to come in here and talk about some draft, man. Shouts out to my rookie partner, brother Thomas Yarish there. You know what I'm saying? I'm Booker, he's Donovan. You know what I mean? And appreciate y'all. This is a show that I've been watching for 10 years. This is a show that I've been watching for 10 years, even when I was a Pizza Hut employee, smelled like dirty dishwater. Now I get to bust this suit out to close out the draft. So I appreciate you. And if there's anybody that never know who I was in my audience that come in the chat and bother the hell out y'all, sorry about them. But they travel with me, you know what I'm saying? So hopefully when you watch me and Brian's podcast on my YouTube channel, Voch Lombardi, VOCHLOMBARDI, y'all will follow us around too. So appreciate y'all for tuning in.
And you can slow down the YouTube clip there and just play it over and over so you can get all those letters in there too.
Voch Lombardi.
It's pretty easy to spell. Voch, it's been a whole lot of fun. Like you said, you and Tommy have killed it. You're number one. Can't wait to have you on again next year too, and really roll into the 2026 draft, hopefully with the Cowboys picking 32nd overall. Yeah. I think that would be a lot of fun if we can get there. Brian, pleasure as always.
No, thank you guys.
Great job. Zach Wolchuk, who's not here, sorry about the haka, but you were fantastic too. We love you. Bobby, again, great to have you back today.
Thank you, Kyle.
Yeah,
you did a good job this year.
Thanks, guys. It was good to be back for the draft weekend. I missed it last year with the babies at home, but now it's back to normal. Chris Beam in the back and everybody who helped have their hands on this throughout the draft process, whether it was cutting B-roll, editing video, clipping interviews, all that stuff. We appreciate everybody that was here for it along the ride. For one final time, for Voch Lombardi, Bryan Broaddus, Bobby Bell, Chris Beam in the back, I'm Kyle Youmans saying so long from the draft show. We'll see you for the 2026 draft in Pittsburgh.
Hey.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys?